So
Braden went 8-0 in his 1/8 round predictions.
pretty much, yeah. I think I was right about one thing, which was, well, two things. We thought that Mac was going to make the bronze medal match. I think we had consensus on that.
Yes.
I was her or Alejandra. I didn't go all in.
Yeah, and also we had the prediction regarding the lady from the Russian Federation who ended up as the silver medalist.
Yeah, Osipova.
And you, Braden, called out, I believe, the archer from Italy that ended up winning the bronze medal.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think between the three of us, we were fairly accurate with that outcome.
Yeah, it was a successful podcast, I'd say.
We all got burned on Kang Chae Young, though.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to her. That was a mess.
This is Easton Podcast number 144. I'm George Tekmachev here with Steve the
Big Cat
Anderson and our special guest, Braden, the world champion Galantine. Braden, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, guys. We had so much fun yesterday. I decided to do it again.
Yeah, and for sure, it was a lot of fun yesterday, and hopefully we'll bring back some of that fun as we prognosticate a little bit of the men. But as folks heard, we are sort of debriefing what happened with the women's competition. The matches yesterday were epic, guys. I think the weather was a little better.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little less cruel. And as a result, we saw some spectacular matches.
They shot it well. I mean, there was, yes, the weather played nicer, and we finally got back to where we weren't seeing arrows in the, blueberries and the occasional 4 and things like that. It was good shooting, and you could count on 10s and 27s, 28s, 29s. It was good scores.
Yeah, and to be sure, by the time you get to those brackets, you've already eliminated most of the shooters who are prone to shooting something out in the black. So just from that perspective, it's certainly, the strainer has been applied to the pasta, as it were.
Kind of, but in a windy, what I noticed was in the, like Braden pointed out yesterday, sometimes you get, in windy conditions, you get that person who sneaks in who shouldn't be there.
Yes.
And we didn't necessarily have a bunch of that yesterday, so the cream was still rising to the top, and then we got to actually see good shooters shoot their bow good, so that was fun.
Yeah, exactly. Braden, anything that stood out for you in particular?
No, like you said, the quality of the archery was more what we would have expected because of the weather, and I think it allowed the cream to rise further to the top, and that's why our predictions were so strong going into the match. Or not predictions, our prognostications, our educated professional figurings.
Our guesses.
But,
our guesses.
Yeah,
so,
Braden,
it's interesting.
Braden went 8-0 in his round of 16 predictions.
Well, as to be expected. And by the way, Braden, I got some feedback from World Archery. They were impressed with your performance as well on that. So,
thank you so much.
I thought that was nice. Let's look at some of these brackets. As the quarterfinals started. The quarterfinals were really where the heat came on. For me, the star of the show yesterday, just from the standpoint of pushing things as far as they could go, was certainly got to be Mackenzie Brown. And that's how it started out with Mackenzie versus Alejandra Valencia. They both started out with 27s in their quarterfinal pass. Then they did it again, pair of 27s. Then Alejandra got the upper hand with a 30 to Mackenzie's 27. So now Alejandra is ahead. That would be 3-1. Oh, excuse me, 3-2.
4-2.
And yeah, let's back up. I'll put an edit in this one because I'm still working on my third cup of coffee and it's just not working yet. Anyway, so we're at 1-1 after the first set. We're at 2-2 after the second set, and then we are at 4-2 after the third set in favor of Alejandra Valencia. And then Mackenzie and Alejandra tie again. I mean, does it get any closer than this kind of match? I don't think so. So now Mackenzie's pretty much got to win this next set, and she does. She takes it 28-27, and now we've got a shoot off. And both archers brought their best to the shoot off. Mackenzie was just a skosh closer to center than Alejandra. Neither of them was a X exactly, but both of them were, 9.5 to 9.3. And that was good enough for Mackenzie to find herself moving on. And we'll talk about that. But first, the other quarterfinal was Ann San versus Deepika Kumari. Ann San came out of the gate swinging hard. Deepika never quite found her traction, in my opinion. Guys, what do you think?
Deepika, in her previous match, came out. I think she went up 4-0. Looked like, okay, she's on it today. And she kind of lost that a little bit. And she made it through that match, but she never really found it again. And 27, 24, 24 for her 3 ends. It wasn't great.
No, and it looked to me like she was having some form issues. From my perspective, it appeared to me she never really had a solid anchor, and she was holding for a long time on some shots. To me, that's a confidence issue. What do you think, Braden?
Right. I mean, there's the common saying in like the UFC and stuff that everybody has a game plan until they get hit in the face. And I think this was the first time in this games that she found herself behind both in score and mentally, behind Ann San. And I think that was probably what led to what you noticed with the lack of loss of anchor and things like that.
Yeah, I think you called it right there. I believe it was Mike Tyson that originated that saying, by the way. Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face. But so, we saw some of that. And unfortunately, Deepika Kumari going out 6-0 against Ann San, which set Ann San up for the semifinal against Mackenzie Brown. Now, the other half of the field, we had Kang Chae-young, the Kang the Destroyer of Korea, versus Elena Osipova of the Russian Olympic Committee team. Gentlemen, that did not go the way I expected.
No, we all picked Kang. We all picked her. I think Braden and I picked her to win.
Sure.
To win gold.
I mean, that a very reasonable pick. But we didn't see that. Now, it's not that she shot all that badly to start with. Started out with a tie, 28-28. Not great, but not terrible. But then the wheels started coming off.
Shot good,
Yeah, well, and in that regard, I guess maybe the minor distinction is Kang shot terribly for a Korean on the next 3 sets. By those standards.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, 25,
Osipova
26,
drops.
That doesn't play.
No, Osipova drops a 29 on a 25. And Kang's looking unhappy. I mean, you could visually see the look on her face. She was, I don't know if she was puzzled or what was going on there, but she definitely did not look comfortable where she was with what was going on. Next set number 3, Osipova drops a 27. Normally you'd think, okay, opportunity for Kang, doors open. Kang only manages a 26. And now Osipova is in position to basically close the door on Kang's aspirations at these Olympic Games. Last set, the 4th set, Osipova drops a 29. Kang only manages a 27. It was, by any standard, a collapse, guys. I mean, no other way to call it.
No, I feel like Kang is an extremely solid shooter when she's ahead. I think what we saw here was a realization of mortality, in my opinion. Like she saw that Osipova was bringing her 8th game, and that she would need to step up or push or try to have more than she had in the tank. We saw a moment of it in her previous match when she had a chance to close out Yasmin in the 3rd set, where she shot that 25 with 3 mystery high arrows, and you could see her come off the line with that same puzzled look. So I think it was just a combination of nerves, expectations, and just not having the A game on that day.
Yeah, you used the word push. You said she was pushing, and I think that's probably right. Sometimes you get into a situation where now your competitor is shooting good scores, so you try extra hard to shoot good scores, and it ends up killing your shot timing or rhythm. And it's usually an over aim type thing for me, that hurts me. So I think that's probably the issue there. And but it is what it is, and Osipova moves on.
Well, Braden, you touched on something that's quite astute, and that is that historically, if anybody would have a chance against a Korean woman who was, shall we say, shooting at the level that we expect when we see Korea step to the line, the only way to really beat them would be to get up on them early and not let them build momentum. You can't really say Osipova did that, but she did match Kang. But after that, she did not let the pressure off. And
Right.
that was vital to that win. No question about that.
Absolutely.
Other-
Just keeping up with her that first end was enough to turn the tide.
Agreed. And that set the tone for the rest of the match, and we saw the result. So the last quarterfinal was Lucilla Boari of Italy. She was up against Wu Xiaxing of China. Coming into this thing, both of them shooting pretty well. But again, Miss Wu just not quite reaching the level of her opponent from Italy, who frankly had come into this looking potentially vulnerable, Miss Boari. But she didn't show any vulnerability in this match. She started out with a 29, Miss Wu with a 27. So the first set goes to Miss Boari. Second set, 28-25. Now the wheels are starting to look like they might be coming off Wu Xiaxing. However, third set, Miss Wu turns it around, shoots a 28 to Miss Boari's 27, and the arrows were real close. And in the final set, Lucilla shoots a 29. Her opponent only manages 27. 6-2 victory for Lucilla Boari, who next will find herself in the semifinal up against Elena Osipova of the Russian Olympic Committee. So here are our semifinals. The tableau is set. Winners are going to shoot for gold. The winning impaired will be shooting for bronze. It's An San against Mackenzie Brown. And gentlemen, we got every penny that would have been charged for a ticket for this one. This was a spectacular match, and it started out with Mac shooting strong and putting a point up on An San for that first set. That is, I saw that and I'm like, this is going to be a match. What did you guys think when you saw this?
My reality is at that point I'd fallen asleep. So when I
So you don't count Braden. Braden was paying attention.
Right. When I pulled up the results, I was like, holy smokes, just, I mean, Mackenzie shot a 143 raw score, which is freaking impressive with a recurve on that stage.
Sure.
Right. They both got
140. Right from the start, did you have any thoughts?
So Mackenzie started off 29-28, and it was kind of, I'm not going to say it was a surprise to me, but it was best case scenario, obviously.
Uh-huh.
And I think what happened with An San after that was she didn't get rattled, but she was kind of like, oh, all right, we're playing now. And she backed up the 30 and the 30. And it was kind of like Mackenzie weathered the storm. She hung tight. She shot well. She did what she needed to do. And when Ann slipped in that fourth set, Mackenzie was able to jump back and tie it up. And she she did more than tie it up. She set the tone. She was like, okay, well, I'm going to see your 30s. Here's one of my own.
And in fact, that's exactly how it went. Yeah.
Right. In that last end, they tied 28-28, went to the shoot off. And it's like, all right, at this point, it's anybody's game. And we couldn't be more proud of Mac. That was so impressive.
The thing to remember here is that in set number 5, so An San has 28, 30, 30, 27, 28. Mac is 29, 28, 28, 30. If she shoots a 29, it's over. She shot an arrow literally 1.5 millimeters out of the 10 ring. So it
Yeah,
could have been over right there.
sent
I
that
sent you the
photo.
photo.
Yeah, very close.
So close. I mean, so close that some judges in some countries would have actually called that one in.
They would have been wrong, but
They would have been wrong. I mean, I could see that it wasn't in, but
yeah.
you know, but that was a margin of victory that was available to Mac. It's all you can ask for. Wind did pick up a skosh at that point, and the arrow was literally 1.5 millimeters out. The arrow that would have ended Ann Sand's run for gold
Yeah.
turned into a shoot off, and both shooters brought it, just performed. However, Ann Sand, absolutely performed in the shoot off. Mac shot well, but couldn't catch Ann Sand's 10. And, you look at that X that Ann Sand shot, and you just go, you know what? It's great that Mac had the intestinal fortitude to just stand up there and still deliver a great arrow. But at that point, that's when Mackenzie Brown knew she'd be shooting for bronze. And that is when, no doubt to the relief of Ann Sand, she was headed to the gold medal round. The other matches, we had Osipova versus Bowari. Gentlemen, I did not expect this to go well for Bowari when I saw her drop a 25. Osipova with a 27 to start. Osipova finishes with a 29 and a 27. Bowari never broke 26. Not good enough. And I, quite frankly, was not expecting much from Bowari in the bronze medal match against Mac after I saw that performance. Osipova finds herself in the finals against Ann Sand. Now we're into the bronze medal match. And things turned out somewhat differently, didn't they?
Yes. And, Mac still came out shooting well, but if you look at Bowari in the quarterfinals, 29, 28, 27, 29, that's going to win most every match. In
Yep.
that semi round, I think she realized might shoot for Olympic gold, and she probably froze a little bit. 25,
Yep.
26, 26. And then against Mac, 28, 29, 28, 27, shooting winning ends right there. And Mac started strong, but she just fell behind. She fell behind with two strong ends, which stinks, both mentally and in reality. And then she didn't close it the best, but at that point it was going to be a tough comeback anyways.
Yeah. To be fair, they actually tied on the first set, 28-28. And then
yes.
Bowari delivered a 29 to Mac's 28. On the third set, Mac faltered a bit. She shot a 7. And Bowari hung in there with a 28. So 28-25. Final set was 27-26. Gentlemen, I submit to you that Mackenzie Brown provided the best performance of a USA-born archer since 1976 and has nothing to be ashamed of. She performed truly in a way to make any American proud.
100% agree.
Congratulations to Lucilla Bowari. Italy's got a great record of bronze medals for their women. And, interestingly, did you notice who was standing in the coach's box for Italy? That was Natalia Valeva, one of the best archers in history. And while she didn't win her Olympic bronze shooting for Italy, she was shooting for the Coalition of Independent States, the remains of the Soviet Union at the time in Barcelona. She is a legend in her own right. Multiple world championships, multiple world championship medals, multiple Olympic medals. To have Natalia Valeva in your coach's box, that's got to be special. So the outcome was Lucilla Bowari of Italy taking that bronze medal. Mackenzie Brown will always be an Olympic finalist. Now we've got the gold medal match. Fellas, I honestly had no idea that Miss Osipova had the kind of potential she had to take it to Ann Sand as well as she did. What did you think?
It reminded me of 2017 at the World Championships when Cheng Hai-Jin was, she was coming off of Olympic championship the year prior, and she was shooting. She was one of the rare Koreans that wins the Olympics and makes the team the next year.
Right.
And she was shooting so well, and we kind of all figured, this is this is it. But 2017 Ksenia Perova beat her pretty soundly in at World Championships to win gold. And it a little bit reminded me of that. And just watching Osipova shoot, at this point I was awake again. So if anyone was wondering, watching her shoot, I was like, man, this girl is shooting confident shots, very strong. A few bad ones here and there, but she was pretty reliable throughout that match.
But one of the things that impressed me was just her tenacity. And then we actually saw Ann San start to falter a bit. First set went 28-28. So that opens the stage with a 1-1 tie. Ann San comes on strong with a 30 to Osipova's 29. So Osipova did not just let down or let up or whatever. She just basically got outshot on that second set. But after that, things got sporty. Osipova shoots a 28, Ann San at 27. Osipova shoots a 29, Ann San a 27. Last set, Ann San has to win the set or she's going to lose this gold medal.
Yeah.
We end up with a tie. And so we're at 5-5, Ann San with a 29 and Osipova with a 27. Now it's a shoot off. If you're world archer, you can't ask for anything better than what those two ladies delivered from a show.
No, gold medal shoot off. That's the ideal scenario right there for the broadcaster and for the governing body. Maybe not necessarily for the archers. They've put in. Some were saying they shoot about 2,000 arrows per week. That if that's the number, then you're looking at all right. They've had 100,000 arrows in the last calendar year, and who knows how many thousands since they made this Olympic team. And now it comes down to one, right? And that kind of stinks, but that's the nature of the game.
So we're in a shoot-off position, and we're looking at a situation where we've got these two archers with one arrow on the line to decide the Olympic championship. The last time we had this happen, London, 2012. Ida Rahman of Mexico versus Kibo Bay of Korea.
Pair of eights
now,
in that one.
It in fact was, but one was closer to center. You could argue that both of those archers, you almost wanted to see a do-over on that one.
I don't feel like winning with an 8. Yeah.
No. In this case, Ann San shot first, drops a 10 straight down the middle. Not an X, but a 10. So daylight for Osipova. Braden, what did you think when you saw this situation develop?
Okay, so when you're in that shoot-off in a situation to win a match, obviously there's two potential outcomes. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. And I mean, while that's stating the obvious, to watch your opponent shoot and stuff a 10 when you have an opportunity to win a title like a world championship or an Olympic championship, Olympic gold, you're either going to see the archer push and shoot that X, or you're going to see a weak 9 or an 8, because they're trying so hard, and that pin has got to be either perfectly still or jittery. Like, you're either going to see perfection or a big mistake. And it doesn't matter, because you need that perfection to win. So you're pushing harder, and it's probably 50-50 at that point, which outcome's going to happen.
Now, we arguably saw Mackenzie deliver perfection in her shoot-offs, but we didn't see that this time. The archer from Russia, unfortunately, shot an 8, and that was it. Game over. And I would say Ann San is a very deserving Olympic champion. She earned it. But Mac made her earn it, gentlemen. And for that, I think she has a point of pride.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I texted you about this earlier, and I said, I hope this is a shot of confidence and a shift for Mackenzie to where she comes in and just starts crushing souls and creates a shift within our entire women's recurve team. Because sometimes you need to see someone achieve something to really believe you can do it, and now that you've got a whole slew of people who are close to Mac, who just saw her, make a great run at it. So hopefully we get a little shift in that in our women's team.
A couple things before we start talking about the men quickly here. Mac spent some time back east and trained with Casey for a while. Actually was working at Lancaster for a while. And I think that was very good for both her and for Casey, and I think that helped her turn around. Because, gentlemen, last year, Mac would not have been in a position necessarily to do what we saw her do here. So the development she's shown, the trajectory she is on, I'm expecting good things out of her in Yankton later this year.
I'm expecting a step forward in our entire women's team because of this result. Like you said, the added confidence, and you see this in our sport as well as others. When one member of a team has success, everyone else realizes that it's attainable. And if you're close, if you're on the cusp, seeing a friend or someone you're close with have that success really encourages and inspires you to get there yourself. And
Absolutely.
honestly, I'm really excited to see where our women's recurve can go at this point. Between Casey and Jennifer and the slew of others we have in the ranks behind, I'm impressed and I'm optimistic.
Steve, any thoughts on that before we start talking about the men?
Nothing more than what I've said already. It was, I Braden and I both know what it's like to finish fourth place at any event, and I will never forget the ones where I finished fourth place because it sucks. And I hope Mackenzie can get over that sting and build on it, because she should be proud. Absolutely, she should be proud. And you always want more out of it, but she really did a lot for herself and a lot for the U.S. in terms of women's recurve archery.
Well, gentlemen, I think we can all agree that was an epic display by all of the 4 finalists that we saw yesterday. Let's turn our attention now to the gentlemen's matches that'll take place in approximately 6 hours as we speak right now. We have, I believe, another day of very interesting archery ahead of us, including the potential for some more upsets. Overview, starting with Braden, what do you think is going to happen?
All right, I'm going to preface this right off the bat. I'm not feeling as confident with my picks today as I was yesterday. So if anyone is sending these picks into their bookie, I'm warning you ahead of time. But I think that the level of competition we're going to see is going to be extremely high. I think a lot of the matches are very close to being 50-50. But I'm excited to watch. It's going to be entertaining, and I can't wait to see who shakes out and wins.
Yeah, I really agree with that point of view. Do you have some predictions you want to start with?
Sure. Do we want to run down together like we did yesterday, or?
Yeah, I think we can do that. One thing I'd like to do, though, is point out and call out Florian Unruh as for me, but not for Steve, the unexpected standout performance so far. Having taken out little Kim Dee-Juk, 7-3 in a spectacular performance. I mean, that was just unbelievable. What do you guys think?
For sure. That's Florian's shooting great. He's confident. You can tell from his comments, his quotes that he's been giving. Like he's ready. He's here. I mean, Ite Shani as well. For me, he's been the standout. He was the 60th ranked archer, and he's into the final 16. And I don't see his run ending here.
Yep, I tend to agree. Steve, any thoughts real quick on the top before we go into the details?
Just the standouts are the guys who weren't supposed to be there according to the rank. So, yeah, you have both Ite and Florian, as well as Marcus D'Almeida. I'm trying to see what I've got elsewhere. Who's
rocking an amazing mustache, by the way.
Yeah, he looks dope. I think it's really cool. Other than that, I mean, those are the guys that are kind of standouts. They kind of shook up the bracket. We'll see who's got it today. I don't know. Braden, what's the weather going to be like? Did you check?
Yeah, I did. It's going to be very similar to the women's.
Yeah, it's lucky that this thing's not going into Sunday. Sunday is going to be really windy. So yeah, I think we're expecting pretty good flat light and moderate winds in the venue at Yuma no Shima.
Well, let's go through each match and give our predictions. What do you say?
All right. So in the 1/16th, we saw Florian Unruh defeat Kim Dee-Juk, Little Kim, by 7-3, and that puts him into the 1/8 elimination round up against the winner of, and I'm going to say this, the guy has had some tremendous performances, but I'm not sure he's gone this far before. Crispin Duenas of Canada is in the 1/8 elimination round after, I would say, really very even match against Mohammad Ruman Shana of Bangladesh. They were 17th and 16th. Mr. Shana 17th, Mr. Duenas 16th. Crispin Duenas brought it. Not huge scores on either side either. 25, 28, 29, 26, 26 for Crispin. 26, 25, 27, 27, 25 for Mr. Shana. But 6-4 win for Crispin Duenas, putting him up against Florian Unruh of Germany for the 1/8 elimination. Just looking at the situation, I'm kind of inclined to agree with Braden. I think this is a very close, evenly matched kind of situation. And, the numbers say Crispin should do it, but the performance says Florian's got every shot at this. What do you guys think?
I completely agree with you. If we were looking at past results over the last 5 or 10 years and, career, I would pick Crispin all day. But over recent form, I have Florian as a slight favorite in this match.
Agreed. What do you think, Steve?
That's probably the way to go. Watching Crispin shoot through the first couple rounds, he was definitely the best shooter in the wind. But if that's going away, then I think Florian gets a bit of that edge back. I would call it a toss-up, even money. I'm gonna pick Crispin because I like him.
Everybody likes Crispin.
Yeah.
And that's not to say we don't like Florian. Florian's a good guy too.
I just have
He's got to be a good guy. He married Lisa.
Yeah.
And took her name. So how bad of a guy can he be? Come on.
I just know Crispin better. So there it is. Fair
enough. All right, next one. Denis Gankin of Kazakhstan, who can be one heck of a spoiler, came up against Mauro Nespoli of Italy. Mauro's, by the way, shooting 62 pounds, which is an impressive number. And in the wind, you'd think maybe that'll be helpful. Mauro beat Denis Gankin 6-2. So Mauro's in the 1/8. And the other half of that is Marcus D'Almeida, who steamrollered Patrick Houston of GBR 7-1, and then beat Chef Vandenberg in pretty bittersweet thing to see. Basically, as far as we know, this might be Chef's last major international. Hopefully, maybe someday that'll change. But Marcus, 7-1 win over Chef Vandenberg to find himself up against Mauro Nespoli. Guys, again, I think this one is a toss of the coin. If the wind's not blowing, the extra bow weight's not doing a thing for Mauro. Marcus may very well be coming into this thing with some great confidence after having beaten, two pretty good shooters. I think that we're looking at a situation where I think I am seeing a little potential edge for Marcus, but like I said, could go either way. What do you think, Braden?
Right, like you said, this match is fairly evenly divided for skill. And Mauro's advantage of the 62 pounds isn't as big of a deal. This season's been pretty weird. This year, Mauro's high score for qualification rounds is 689. So obviously that's something that he shot in fairly good conditions.
Yeah, second highest score of his career, by the way.
Right. Marcus's, on the other hand, is only in the mid 660s, but in the past, he shot up to the low 690s for qualification. So it's weird. He's what I would like to call a match play specialist, where even if he doesn't qualify well, he's still going to find a way to put his 3 arrows closer than yours.
Yep.
I just, at the end of the day, I'm going to give the edge to the old guy, the guy in his 30s. Nespoli's my pick.
Okay. Steve, thoughts?
I think Nespoli wins it going away. I don't think it's close.
Okay. So then Nespoli would find himself up against either Florian or Crispin in the quarterfinals, if that comes to pass. Hey, a pleasant surprise of these games. Again, mixed feelings on this one because he beat a good friend of mine to get there. But Itai Shani of Israel, the first archer to compete for Israel in archery at the games, but not the first to qualify. That goes to his coach. We're looking at a situation where Itai Shani of Israel was able to beat Hiroki Muto of Japan 7-3, pretty decisively, I would say. Hiroki Muto, of course, the hero of Japan after shooting a clutch shot to win the bronze medal earlier in the week for the team round. but no mercy from Itai Shani. He just rolled over him. Found himself up against Tarandeep Ray. Now, if you told me that Itai Shani was going to beat Tarandeep Ray being ranked 37th, Itai Shani being ranked number 60, I would say, no, that's not going to happen, but it did. And it happened in a shoot-off. Itai Shani winning in a shoot-off 6-5 with a 10 to Tarandeep Ray's 9 puts him in a pretty good position, in my opinion, at least from a momentum standpoint. What do you think, Braden?
My pick for this match is Itai. I'm going to come out and say it right off the bat. He has the momentum on his side. He's got nothing to lose, and he's had 2 days now to completely reset his mind and focus on it. And I think, he's got a huge advantage in his coach's box in Guy Matzkin. I've always wanted to say this as a sports competitor, as a sports announcer. Guy Matzkin's extremely cerebral. He's one of the smartest guys out there. And I know that he's found a way to encourage and motivate Itai for this match. Not to mention, he's been shooting super solid in the matches, and he would have won against Tang in any set that he shot so far. I think he would have had a bit more of an advantage had they continued rolling through and shot this match on the previous day.
Yes.
But that said, I still think he's going to get it done.
Absolutely agree with everything you've said. Steve, your thoughts?
Well, Tang Chai-Chun is obviously a much higher ranked archer. He beat his teammate last round, his teammate Wei Chun-Hang. That said, like Braden pointed out, Itai's scores throughout this would have beat Tang. My money would go on Tang, but I think Itai has found something on the finals field. Sometimes you get out there, you get in a tournament situation, and you find a new way to do it, right? You find a different little feeling in the form or something that you go, okay, this is how I make that happen. I'm making better shots when I do this. And I think he found that somewhere in the last, in his last 2 rounds. And yeah, Guy Matzkin, really cool guy, funny guy, but very smart. I can only imagine he's a great coach. I want to see Itai win this. And I'm going to go with what I want. It's usually what I do. I'm going to pick Itai.
No argument there. Let's also understand that Tang Chai-Chun did something very similar to Itai in beating his teammate Wei Chun-Heng in a shoot-off with a 10 to a 9 on the last arrows. So both of these guys coming into this match with the same accomplishment from the standpoint of coming off of successful shoot-offs. It's going to be interesting either way. Then we've got the next bracket, which is Mohammad Khairul Anwar of Malaysia, finding himself having defeated Wang Depeng of China. He beat Mr. Wang with an X to a 9 in a shoot-off. Now, I've been watching Khairul for years on the Asian circuit. I go to the Asian circuit as a DOS and announcer just about every year. And so I've had a chance to see the whole Malaysian team, which has been, set back by the untimely passing away of one of their star shooters. I think these guys have come into the games with maybe a mindset thinking about their teammate. And Mohammad Khairul Anwar definitely just as good as some of these other guys. He is most certainly capable, except he has drawn a tough bracket. Let's look at that bracket, the other half. It's Pierre Plihon versus Jack Williams that started the ball rolling on the bracket we're about to talk about when Pierre beat Jack 6-4. But then Pierre got beaten 6-2 by the other half of Mohammed's bracket, Kim Woo-Jin, who is here with something to prove, gentlemen. And I don't think it's going to be an easy match for Khairul Anwar Mohammed against Kim Woo-Jin, especially after what happened to Kim in Rio. What do you think?
Yeah. So Khairul, he's shot solid to get here. He's 1 and 2 shoot-offs, but that's as far as I would go. I would say he shot solid. He definitely got lucky in his first match when Vikstrom's bow broke, because all of the momentum at that point was for Vikstrom.
Yes.
But he was able to capitalize on that, not mistake that unfortunate circumstance, and made a win. And then he created another win in his next match as well. But now he's going against arguably one of the best recurve archers of all time in Kim Woo-jin. And I don't quite see that moderately good, strong shooting winning. I think he's going to have to come in with nothing to lose if he wants to have a shot at this, and that mentality where it's either going to be an X or an 8. I don't care, but I need those X's. But that said, I see Kim Woo-jin winning as the favorite.
All right. So if that happens, we could be very well seeing Kim Woo-jin versus Itai Shani of Israel. And if that happens, I predict an upset, gentlemen. I'm just calling it right now. Steve, what do you think?
I think Kim Woo-jin wins this one, and I think he wins the next one, and I think he wins the one after that, and he gets in the gold medal match.
All right. Bold prediction from Steve Anderson, but quite frankly, not one I would not necessarily put money on. You're probably going to end up right, but it's why we play the game. The bottom half of the bracket has Atnu Das, who had taken out the legend Oh Jin Hyuk in the 1/16th in a shoot-off. I hope this is not the last time we get to see Oh Jin Hyuk shoot. After being eliminated in the 1/16th, Oh Jin Hyuk did not acknowledge to the reporters that he was retiring. He specifically did not acknowledge that. So it's my hope that with only 3 years to London, we just might see the Valentino Rossi of our sport keep going. But he did get beaten by Atnu Das. And Atnu Das had beaten Deng Yucheng of Chinese Taipei in the 132nd, 6-4. He beat Oh Jin Hyuk 6-5. It took a shoot-off to do it. He's up against one of the finest shooters at this event, who beat El Abuelo, Luis Alvarez. Takaharu Furukawa is who we're talking about. Takaharu beat Luis decisively, 7-3. And then he beat one of your favorites, Steve, Gijs Broeksma of Netherlands, 6-5. But again, it took a shoot-off, 10-9. It's Atnu Das versus Takaharu Furukawa. What do you guys think is going to happen?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to just tip my hat to O. He's had an amazing career. And like you said, I hope this isn't the last time we see him compete. But I'm fairly certain we'll see him later this year in a competition.
Yeah,
so,
in Yankton, yeah.
In Yankton, yeah. Das was incredible. He held his own. He stayed as relaxed as possible. He delivered arrow after arrow when he needed to. I don't see that ending in this match. I see with the better weather, I only see his level increasing. Takaharu's got the home crowd. He doesn't have the home crowd. He's got the home venue.
The spirit is there.
The spirit is there, right? He's representing his nation at the games in his home country, and that says a lot for personal motivation. And I think this is going to be a very, very close match. But I don't see Das losing it based on his form and the confidence that he must have after taking out O.
Steve, your thoughts?
I think this is hardest match to call. I'm gonna go with Das. I think Furukawa will make it tough, but I think Das will find that next gear that he needs, and I think he'll end up in a medal match.
I believe that Furukawa is going to go all the way here.
Whichever one of these guys wins will be in a medal match. I think they'll be in the bronze match.
All right. I think Furukawa will be shooting for gold in Japan, and I think he'll have a decent shot at winning it. We'll see what happens. The next pass was in the next 1/8 elimination pass. It's going to be Li Xiaolun of the People's Republic of China. He'll be up against Ilfat Abdulin of Kazakhstan. The Kazakhstan boys are giant slayers historically. They can do very well. Mr. Lee, to a degree, is an unknown quantity. The numbers that he's put down in admittedly difficult conditions are generally not impressive, okay? 25, 27, 24, 28, 25, 26, 26, 29, 25, 25. That's the 132nd and the 116th sets that he has shot. So by any measure, you'd go, but pretty similar numbers from his opponent in the 132nd. It's in the 116th that Mr. Abdulin started to open up the gas. 26, 29, 28, 28, 27. Just based on the numbers, Mr. Abdulin should run away with this one. What do you think, Braden?
That's what I'm seeing as well. I think that Abdulin's gonna take the match. When you look at the ranking, it tends to tell you a different story, but
11 for Mr. Lee and 27 for Mr.
Right.
Abdulin. But you got to look at the fact that they shot in similar circumstances. Mr. Lee just did not deliver sets that were anywhere close to Mr. Abdulin by the 116th.
100%. I agree. I see Abdulin getting through.
And Abdulin got past Steve Weiler, while Mr. Lee did not have that level of shooter to deal with.
Exactly. He's already been tested under nerves in these situations. And at this point, as a competitor, I feel like you're almost going into it as a free roll. You're in the top 16. Anybody could win. And everybody's going to come out with their foot on the gas. I see Kazakhstan moving forward.
Excellent point. Steve, what do you think?
I'm going to go another direction. I think Abdulin was a beneficiary of the bad conditions. I'm not sure he has the horsepower to win if it's calmer, more of a shooting match than a wind survival match. So I'm going to go with Lee in this one, but I've got both of them. It's all for naught. They're going to move on one more round and then they're going to fall to either Tanu Das or Takaharu Furukawa.
Yep, agreed. I have felt from the beginning that Mr. Furukawa is in a good bracket for that if he can get past Das. Taylor Wirth of Australia has been a giant slayer in his own right, historically. I won't say that he's been highly tested here so far. In his first pass, he had to go up against a shooter from Indonesia who he beat 6-0 in straight sets. And then he came up against an opponent from China who also beat his opponent 6-0 in straight sets. Taylor Wirth beat Wei Xiaoxiang of People's Republic of China 6-4. But Taylor's in trouble, in my opinion, gentlemen, because his opponent is somebody that, all joking aside, could go all the way here. And that is Mete Gazots of Turkey. First, to get there, Mete had to get past Ryan Tyack, the indoor world champion. Ryan had beaten Nicholas Demore, the highly talented youth from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Ryan beat him in a shoot-off. Then Ryan got taken out by Mete pretty decisively, 7-3. Mete had sort of sharpened his steel, beating Jeff Henkels of Luxembourg 6-0. Mete rolled over Ryan Tyack 7-3. When it comes down to Mete Gazos versus Taylor Wirth, if the Mete of 2 days ago is coming on the field today, it's going to be game over. What do you think?
I see the exact same outcome as you. Mete seems like he's on form right now. He's qualified well. He shot well at all the events at the World Cups this year. Taylor has been a little bit streaky at times. We know he's capable of winning this match, but I don't see it in the cards right now.
Steve, I know that Mete is, all joking aside, Mete really is one of your favorite shooters. What are your thoughts?
Well, Mete, also known as Meat, was far and away, when you and I were watching his rounds, we were like, this guy's on another level right now. He was just shooting better than everybody. And I don't have
in honor of your nickname for him, every time he'd shoot a certain score, I'd say filet, and chuck. That's 10-10-9. Yeah. But then he served up a filet with sauce béarnaise on the side and a side of roast asparagus.
I think chuck steak's more like 7-8 ring. You should have thrown in like sirloin in there.
I count flank as being 7-8 ring. But the point is, Meat shot well. I mean, shot really well.
He looked like, let's see, in those conditions that were tough, he was shooting like what I expect guys are going to shoot today.
Yeah.
With better conditions. He was just visually, he was the best out there by far.
And super calm looking too.
Yeah, and he's just cool. You know, he does that thing where he does like the drawn fist under his chin after he wins, and he's kind of made that his thing. I think it's his joke, but he's owning it.
Yep.
He looked really good. It's a shame they didn't have a team with him, because I think he could have carried a team. You know, in this particular Olympics, but
totally agree.
I've got him winning this match for sure.
Braden, I will say that I believe we're going to see Professor Dr. Ur Erdner particularly proud today. I'll just leave it at that. I think Meta is going to do good things for Turkey.
Absolutely.
With that said, gentlemen, the next one is kind of no-win scenario, right? And at the same time, no-lose scenario. It's Jacob Wookie of the United States of America versus Brady Ellison of the United States of America. However it goes, USA is going to be okay. But I would say that neither one of those two had particularly difficult guys to deal with the exception of Wookie. Jacob Wookie had to get past the guy who beat David Barnes of Australia, Riau Salsabila, who happens to be the same Riau Salsabila, who had a different name, Agatha, at the Rio Games, who happens to be the guy who crushed Kim Woo-jin's hopes at the Rio Olympics. So Jacob Wookie beats this guy 6-5 in a shoot-off. Pretty impressive to get into this bracket. Brady Ellison was not as challenged, shall we say, with straight set victories over a shooter from Iran and a shooter from Indonesia. So it's Brady versus Wookie. What do you guys think is going to happen here?
All right. So like you said, this is a no win, no lose situation. The U.S. is going to have an archer moving on into the 1/8 regardless of the outcome. If we look at the scores from the 132nd and the 116th, I put the advantage in Wookie's favor. In the 132nd, he would have been, if Brady only shot 3 matches, so we don't have a huge sample, 3 ends, so we don't have a huge sample to look at. The match would have been 3-3. And in the 116th, Wookie would have had the advantage, and he would have been up 5-1. So you can't really put the matches together like that because they're not shooting against each other, obviously. But if you look at the scores over the sample we have, the results speak that Wookie's got a shot at it. That said, this year they've shot against each other 4 times between events in the States and the trials, and Brady's won all 4. So while Wookie can be, he can be difficult to shoot against. He can be disarming at times because he's such a nice guy.
And he's tenacious.
Yeah, so I see Brady moving through probably at a 70-30 clip.
Okay, Steve?
I look at this and I think, all right, Wookie is primed for an upset. And in this scenario where they're comfortable with each other, you have 2 things that can occur. One, the underdog is comfortable, so they go out and they shoot without fear because they know that person. They understand them. They're not a scary person to them. The other scenario is Brady says, I'm big brother and I'm going to win this one. Like, thanks, little bro, but big bro's taking this one. So it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen. I think Braden's analysis of 70-30 in favor of Brady is probably pretty accurate. Obviously I don't want to act like I'm playing favorites here, but I'm going to play favorites. Say I hope Brady moves on because I want to see Brady have success at these games. So
I'd be genuinely happy to see either one of these guys move on. The problem is going to be coming up against Mete Gazoz. And I'm not even sure if I have any idea how that will go. I just don't know.
That's going to be their toughest. That might be their toughest match the rest of the way, even tougher than if one of them gets all the way through and runs into Kim Woo-jin,
let's say, yeah. Agreed.
Meta's going to be very tough.
Meta is going to be very tough. And again, Meta could go all the way. So could Brady. I think Jacob would certainly bring it as well. So, we'll see how it goes. Either way, I think a bit of a shock that Korea only has one guy left. Would you agree, gentlemen?
For sure. They still do have a shot at winning all 5 golds.
Sure.
And I at this point, I am going to speculate. I do see it happening. I think Kim Woo-jin has a bit of a chip on his shoulder at this point in the games. And I see him going out and showing us a level for him that we still haven't seen at an international competition, which is saying a lot. I think he's going to find an extra gear today.
Steve?
Yeah, it is a surprise that they aren't there, but Atanu Das is a good shooter. He upset Mr. O. That's not a huge surprise. Lil Kim being out caught me off guard. I expect to see Lil Kim running all the way, very much the same as An Sen did, going wire to wire. So,
yep.
But like Braden said, people talk about this game's being critical to like Brady's legacy and things like that, but for Kim Woo-jin, it's very much the same. I mean, the guy has a resume that's unbelievable. 2-time world champion, first guy to shoot a 700, but he keeps getting bounced at the Olympics in the individual rounds. And for him, this is going to be a fairly critical finals day, and I think he's going to do it. You can easily sleep on a guy like him because you're thinking about Brady's on the other side and Meta's on the other side, but he's going to be tough to beat, I think.
Gentlemen, I believe that you've done the very best you can with the information we have right now. Proof will be in about 5.5 hours as we speak, as the final round of the Tokyo Olympic Games, the long-awaited 1-year delayed games, finally gets underway. I'll say this: no matter who wins, they will have earned it.
Yeah, coming out of this final men's bracket is not maybe who we expected, but it's still not going to be easy for anybody. There's going to be the Cinderella stories that are shooting well right now, and then the old favorites that are going to be bringing everything they've got as well.
Braden Galantine, Steve Anderson, I want to thank both of you for taking the time to give us your insight, your analysis, and hopefully we can round each other up one more time for a final debrief after the games. And I just, again, really appreciate Braden taking the time to join us. Thank you so much for that, sir.
Oh, absolutely. We had such a good time yesterday, and I'm really honored that you guys thought of me to be a guest host, and I look forward to it in the future.
Awesome. Steve, any closing thoughts before we go?
No, I have nothing I'm thinking about right now. I think we all have some brain fog from being up till 3 a.m. and then, coming into work and stuff. So
you're not going to acknowledge that you're wrong about target quivers, considering that everybody on that podium yesterday had a target quiver.
Hey, Braden, do you wear a target quiver or a field quiver?
Honestly, when I see somebody with a target quiver, I think that they're either a recurve shooter or they're a little off.
End of show.